So if you compare me to Bear Grylls or the similar style of things that we do, one thing you have to keep in mind is there's always an element of production, right? So I know the controversies that you're talking about that Bear had gotten into, right? Everything that Bear does is 100% genuine. He puts himself in incredibly dangerous situations, but he is also at the same time having to be responsible for that camera crew that's running alongside him. The work that Les Stroud did on Survivor Man was very unique, and it was one man filming all of his own stuff. Les is a phenomenal show host, as is Bear, two different styles of things. We looked at both of their styles of presentation and production when we were creating everything that we did, and we sort of hit a little bit in the middle, right? So we have a lot of stuff that we will give you that first-person perspective because it makes it really gritty, especially in the digital distribution space. That works the best. Even now in television, you see a lot of these streamers and networks sort of leaning into the direction of found footage type entertainment, right? People want that raw. They want that gritty. But you do still have production that is required at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter if you're making Man vs. Wild or you're making episodes of Brave Wilderness, you still have to charge those camera batteries. You still have to dump and back up that footage. You still have to rest. You still have to eat. When Bear was doing survival situations, if he needed to stay in the environment for X number of days to accomplish something with a shoot, the camera crew would leave him with a single camera. And they exemplified that extremely well when Bear would be just Bear solo. But of course, his camera crew has to go back and do all those production things that I just mentioned. The same way that my team does. But with Brave Wilderness, we've never really done overnight expeditions. There are a handful of times that we have, and they're extremely difficult. It's very uncomfortable, as anybody knows who camps or goes out into the wilds. It's like, cool, I'm sleeping out here tonight. It exhausts you. It exhausts you on a level that you can't do it very many days in a row, and also have to handle the responsibilities of making sure that your white balance is correct, making sure that your audio is balanced. All those production elements for the people behind the scenes, it's incredibly important that they get their rest on a daily basis, because working in a real world nature environment, I wouldn't say it's more difficult than working in a studio or a set. All of them pose their unique challenges, but surviving in the wild and filming something is definitely difficult. And we've always made it with Brave Wilderness that we don't need to push that envelope and make it seem like we're staying overnight places, because we just really don't need to. We are always going back to our Airbnb or our lodge or our villas or whatever at the end of the night, unless we are specifically staying out for a reason in which point that's a part of the storyline.
Why do you think people... I guess, what you gave me was a good answer, to be sure. I guess what I'm really curious about is, why do you think that people had that outsized reaction to Bear Grylls?
Because people always want to think something is different than they want to think whatever they're shown or told originally is just the way that it is. And when you go back to when they were making Man vs. Wild, you also didn't have social media and the internet, right? So to produce a television show, the way that Discovery was producing television shows with, some of those shoots, and I don't know this for a fact, but some of them and some of the people could have been union. There was only certain hours during the day where they could work. There are only certain times you can be on location, certain hours when they can use helicopters. It was a massive production. I mean, even what Bear does now with shows like Running Wild, it is a well-orchestrated production. And when you get down to the education and the safety side of things, that's incredibly important. I mean, Bear himself has been hurt multiple times on shoots, but to my knowledge, his entire crew and the track record that all of those guys have run for 2 decades now, no one's ever gotten seriously injured. Yeah. If anyone's gotten injured, it's been Bear. So what does that tell you about a show host? He's putting everybody else first and foremost to make sure that they are getting through the situation safely, when he's the one that truly has the skill sets to ensure that everybody gets out of them. We try to do the same with Brave Wilderness, but by no means do I compare myself and what I do to the extreme level of some of the survival stuff that Bear does. Am I good at getting out there in the wild and climbing things and catching things? Yeah, but it's different than a lot of the stuff that Bear does.
Yeah. I really, I really like Bear Grylls. Like,
He's a
there's
great
just
guy.
something about that guy that you just go, yeah, like that's like the kind of dude that I would like to. It's the attitude. It's this like kind of.
He's just stayed very true to his message for all of these years. And part of the reason that he continues to be relevant all these years later, when you think about the number of shows that Bear Grylls has, I mean, they just got finished filming the next season of Running Wild, right? A show that he's now doing. I mean, for him, it's so much fun to be taking celebrities or sports figures or governmental figures out into the wild to experience the things that he does. And it's, you know, I've joked with him and his team before, like it's almost probably easier for Bear to do Running Wild, but what he enjoys is giving other people that experience.
Yeah.
And certainly as an audience, people love to see notariable people being put into uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. And you know, when you talk about giving other people that experience, I guess that's like kind of the crux of why I never understood like this outrage. It's like, dude, the guy is giving you the experience and he's giving it to you in such a convincing way that you can't divorce like production from reality.
Yeah.
And like, who gives a shit?
Well, but that's because people don't understand what it takes to produce a show like that. So that's where if you've got the opportunity to try to poke a hole in something and try to upset an apple cart, that somebody's going to do it for the sake of writing an article, right? So whatever controversy Bear has been in, whatever controversies I've gotten in through my career, as long as you have an honest answer to why or when or how something happened, most of the time people are like, oh, okay, we get it. But most people don't understand how television shows are made. And unless you do understand how a show is made, you understand that this takes days and hours and extreme work from a lot of people behind the camera that you don't necessarily see. So if it's somebody in front of the camera that's bringing you something, that's the person that it's the host who's beholden to the audience to make sure that they're getting as true a story as they possibly can. And I've made my mistakes in the past too with certain things that we've done.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. Like everybody like, well, it's almost as if people have to like learn how to do things in meaningful ways. And sometimes people on very big stages also have to learn how to do things.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's fallible, right? Doesn't matter if you're Bear Grylls or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Coyote Peterson, and I shouldn't even put myself and Jordan and LeBron in the same category. Point I'm trying to make is everybody's going to make mistakes. We're all just human at the end of the day. And when you're doing something like producing content, it's all an experimentation, especially with anything that's an outdoor adventure show, because with like what we do with Brave Wilderness, one of our inside production jokes is animals don't have call sheets, which means that you're never going to guarantee finding an animal just because you've gone out into an environment and you want to find it, let alone you want to catch it or interact with it. And there are many examples of episodes that we've gone out planning to film that have resulted in, you know, us exhausted, a bunch of SD cards filled up, and no animal. And it's like, dang, that was a lot of work, and we didn't get the target. It just happened to us in Bali. We spent 5 days, and you can't even fathom the amount of money to go where we went, from the flights to the lodging to the food to all of it, to try to find a king cobra naturally, because we don't want to stage anything. Like, we could have definitely contacted an organization and be like,
hey, you got a cobra
need you to bring a
rescue?
12-foot cobra and throw it over in that bamboo cluster for us so that I can catch it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to try to find a king cobra on my own. We couldn't do it. We hiked and hiked and hiked and hiked, and we didn't get the king cobra episode, you know, but that's strikes and gutters.
So do you show that journey at all? Like the failure?
An episode like that, we have an idea for how we might actually take the search and construct it into, I've got a couple of friends who actually own king cobras in captivity. A really good friend of mine actually trained David Blaine on how to kiss a cobra for the new show that David Blaine that just came out on, I think was it on Netflix, or it might have been Amazon. So I have
sure
access.
Buddy just didn't want to kiss David Blaine?
You know, I don't know.
No, it's more like this.
So kissing a king cobra, like, okay, well, if I wasn't able to find a king cobra in the wild, can we show what it's like to go into king cobra habitat, how difficult that hiking is to actually look for these animals in their natural space, but still have a payoff where it's like, cool, now we've brought a cobra into a studio setting, and I'm going to learn how to kiss the back of the frill of a king cobra. It's something that we're considering, but at the same time, where that idea seems feasible. And you might be like, oh, well, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Getting the audience to have the attention span to adhere to go on an adventure and don't find something and then give us that payoff at the end, it's a big lift and expense of time and resources to make a storyline like that come together versus you just chalk it up and that one's an L versus a W. I mean, we got enough other content on that trip, 26 pieces of content that we didn't need the King Cobra episode. It didn't make or break what the trip was. We just really wanted to find King Cobra. At the same time, I'm also kind of was like super nervous to catch like what was maybe a 12-foot King Cobra, maybe bigger, in the middle of nowhere in the wild. I mean, you get bit by a King Cobra, like it's probably game over with as remote as we were. So I was pretty nervous about it.
For the full episode we got this clip from, click that top video there. For more clips, click that playlist right there. You got time for one more, man. Tell them there was traffic or something. Ooh, tell them there was a bear. I was gonna be like, how big was the bear? It's a good excuse.